Shop and on mixlr.com/wakeupcall DT. Proud to be hanging out with you inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. You know, Cafe Kubal comes to you in multiple locations in central and upstate New York, currently featuring 3501 James Street as well as 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse. You can also find them on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in their drive-thru location in North Syracuse. And, of course, inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital and in that giant behemoth of a brown-striped building at 343 Fayette Street, welcoming you into Manlius as we welcome you into today's broadcast of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So happy for you to be here with us on a beautiful Thursday, the first Thursday broadcast of 2022 for us, which means that this is the official first time you're going to hear from Papa Joe in the great year 2022. So PJ hanging out with us inside of the Cafe Kubal studios in hour number 1 from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. in his normal post. And then in hour number 2, we'll be hanging out with Josh Black. Josh Black, a longtime defensive lineman for Syracuse, a super senior, thanks to the fact that they got a bonus year after the COVID season. The NCAA gave everyone an extra season of eligibility, and he was one of the people that took it. Aaron Service also took it, and Aaron Service has been on the show here within the last couple weeks to tell his story as well. So very excited that, and he is another draft prospect. So excited to have Josh Black here with us, a sixth-year player for Syracuse University, and someone who is going into the 2022 NFL Draft to make one of those teams out there inside of the NFL very, very happy very soon within the next couple months. So with that being said, happy to have Papa Joe and Josh Black bringing the Gridiron to your doorstep this morning for a special to remember as we continue our first week of 2022. And with that being said, let's bring in the man of hour number 1 to speak on the Jaguars bowl season as well as the college football playoff semis recap and a look at the championship game that we will be watching together. PJ, how we doing?
Very good, Daniel. Mary and I are thrilled that you're going to be down for a couple of days. Of course, watching the Jaguars and watching the championship game is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a good year for the Jags this year. I really feel strong about that. You know, they've interviewed 3 coaches already, or 3 soon-to-be coaches, and they're working on the other ones, I guess. So,
yeah.
I got to say something that our Jaguar fans, when you're just like at Syracuse, but they go through tough times. My Gators are going to go through tough times in a couple of years here. You can't be a fair weather friend. I mean, if you're going to stay with a team, you stay with the team through thick and thin. You know, there's a movement now that's going to happen this Sunday where our people, our audience, our attendees are going to wear clown masks in opposition to Shad Khan. I don't know if you want to make Shad Khan an enemy, but that's not called for. Not necessary. I wanted to get that ram out of the way first before we start into things. There's going to be a lot of activity in the Jaguars in the next month or so, probably. But that's one thing I don't want to see. I want to see a good effort on the field this Sunday, not like last Sunday, but a good effort this Sunday, and hope to end the season on a high note.
Yeah, and I heard about that too. And I'm in preparation of going to a game and feeling like Batman. In those Batman movies where there's a bunch of people that support the Joker, and so they wear clown masks all throughout the city and whatnot. I don't want to see that. I don't feel like it's going to do anything to help you out. I mean, it's not going to make Shad Khan find somebody faster. It's not going to make him find the right person. This is how I look at things when it comes to words and actions. If it helps you positively move forward and it's not hurting other people, then I say go for it. But how does wearing a clown mask positively move us forward? How does it help anybody? How does it help Shad Khan make a decision? It doesn't. And so all it does is make you look like a fool. It makes you look stupid. I look back at the days where people had paper bags on their face and whatnot, and it didn't do anything for anybody in a positive way. It's like, oh, look at that team and look at those fans. that have bags over their face, it just made the situation worse. It made it more deplorable. It made it more comedic and ridiculous. And, it's kind of like the fans are making fun of themselves if they do it. So I would like for them to not do it. I would like for them to just show up to the game if they'd like to show up to the game and be a part of it if they'd like to be a part of it. But, yeah, I'm not looking forward to feeling like Bruce Wayne when I walk into TIAA Bank Field on Sunday.
It's true. I mean, it's not necessary. You're right. The guys know how bad the situation is. I mean, the players know, and all they can do is put forth their best effort. Although we didn't see their best effort this last Sunday. This last Sunday was the pits. I mean, I've seen some bad games for the Jaguars over the years. I can't remember one being as bad as that one. I mean, they mailed it in. It's not like you want to criticize the players for not trying or anything, but man, they mailed it in, and there's nothing you could do to stop it. I mean, you look at the two teams with two rookie quarterbacks, Mac Jones and Trevor. And Trevor, one of the generational kind of players that you see, and Mac Jones is a hell of a quarterback. What do you see when you're on the field?
Yeah.
It's total opposite. It's Mac Jones with a good team. Mac Jones is a good quarterback, don't get me wrong. He's not a Trevor Lawrence, but he's a good quarterback, and he's smart. And look at how the team supports him, and look at how Josh McDaniel calls plays, and how the grumpy lobster bowl caps handles him. Now, on the other side of the team, you got Trevor Lawrence again, who has the generational kind of talent, and he looked inferior with our team playing against the grumpy lobster bowl captain. So there you go in a nutshell. You look at two quarterbacks that are both really good, but one shows better because he's with a better team. I couldn't get that out of my mind. I'm saying, how could Mac Jones do this over the period of a year and Trevor Lawrence not? Well, it's because of the team that's around him and the coaching, of course.
Yeah, and it is, and you just touched upon it. I mean, it's the coaching. We see what he's capable. We know that Bill Belichick is more than capable to take care of business, and he has definitely just had some. I mean, Belichick, to me, he's somebody who he knows what he's doing. He can take anybody and make anybody successful in his offense, and I give him all the credit in the world for that. He's been incredibly talented as a coach, more talented it's looked than any other coach in the NFL in recent history. I see him and I think about what would he have been like up against Jimmy Johnson? What would he have been like up against Tom Landry? I think about those moments in history and say, if they faced Bill Belichick, how many times would they beat him? How many times would he beat them? Because he's an incredible coach. And what he's done with Mac Jones is he's shown once again, give me a quarterback and I will give you success. And he, unlike anybody else, he knows how to sniff out the talent. He knows what to do with it when he gets it. And I said it. I prognosticated in the draft. I said if he's there, if Mac Jones is there at whatever it was, pick 15. I said if Mac Jones is there, trust me, he's going to draft Mac Jones. He's going to pick up Mac Jones and he's going to turn him into something special. I said if Mac Jones falls to the Patriots, the rest of the league is going to have to deal with it. And and look at where they are right now. Look at this team. This Patriots team is going to the playoffs. They are going to the playoffs with a rookie quarterback. And not only are they going to the playoffs, if some things spin their way this final week, week 18, if some things spin their way and they win, not only will they go to the playoffs, they'll go from going to the playoffs to being the number one seed in the AFC. They still have a chance. They have a chance to win their division of the AFC East, and they have a chance to be the number one seed and oust the Tennessee Titans. It's crazy to think that right now we're looking at a Patriots team, sans Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, that's in a position to not only go to the playoffs, but to shake up the entire playoff picture this weekend. Are you surprised that once again, the grumpy lobster boat captain has found shore, and he seems to have the best product when it comes to lobster when he gets in there and brings it into New England. I mean, are you surprised that once again Bill Belichick not only has us talking about his team, but his team has a shot to be at the top of the AFC once again?
Well, it's hard to believe. I mean, I shouldn't say that. It's not hard to believe because Mac Jones is a very good quarterback, and if you play for Nick Saban, you got to be really, really, really good to play for Nick Saban. And Belichick knows that. He sees that. He sees what the kid's about. He's an older kid. I mean, he's I think 22 or 23 or something like that, as opposed to Trevor Lawrence being 21. So the maturity factor is a big deal. Belichick, you're right. When I was looking at the draft, I'm thinking to myself too, who the hell is he going to pick at 15 without Tom Brady? If you're a football pundit like we are, you're going to say, well, it'll be a couple years before the Jaguar or the Patriots get back on track because they're going to have to break into a quarterback, blah, 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 blah. And what do we find out is that he winds up with a really good quarterback, and he's got a really good team. So, no, I guess when you follow football the way we do, there's nothing surprises us about Belichick. Mac Jones is going to be around for a long time with that team, and we hope that Trevor Lawrence, if he stands on his 2 feet, is going to be around a long time, too.
Yeah, and speaking here with Papa Joe this morning in our spot that we have every single Thursday live from the Sunshine State, speaking this Thursday, today on bowl season, college football playoff, the Jaguars and the NFL in general. So happy to have you here, and I'm very happy that things are going well. Greg actually sent us a message this morning and said, "Good morning, gentlemen. Listening to your show before going into surgery this morning, #diehard listener." So, Greg, what are you going into surgery for? And obviously our prayers and our well wishes are going to be sent your way, but we're so happy. I know that people like Greg. I mean, Greg has been such a devout listener now for a long time with us, and with the show Wake Up Call in general, and definitely with the Papa Joe segment, he's been so devout. And I know that he's been out on the water. I don't even know how he got a signal out there, but he was out on the water listening to our show while he was catching fish, and now he's listening to us as he's getting ready to go into surgery. So, PJ, we got some diehard people out there tuning into us, and obviously we wish Greg and his loved ones a very healthy, safe, and speedy recovery with whatever's going on surgery-wise, and hope that your loved ones are well and that you're well too. But what do you think about that, Papa Joe? We got somebody listening to us as they're getting ready to go into surgery.
Boy, he is a diehard listener. You're right, Greg. Good luck, and I hope everything comes out all right. Speaking from experience, I've had over 3 dozen. That's 3 dozen surgeries.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to go under. I know what it's like to be cut on, and everything. So I wish you well, my friend, and I hope we get to meet soon. But I guess we're going to have to operate on the Jaguars this year.
Yeah, we're
going to need I don't know, maybe a heart transplant or something like that. But if we operate on the Jaguars this season, for whoever's coming in, the coach, let's hope it's the right one. And I've gone through, I think, three interviews already. I think Pedersen has been down here, Todd Bowles and Jim Caldwell. I think to satisfy the Rooney mandate of hiring at least interviewing a coach of color. I think Caldwell maybe has a shot at that. Bowles, I don't think so. And Pedersen, I still think the pedal's on the metal with him. There is a lot of talk down here about Kellen Moore from the Cowboys, and I think he's supposed to be being interviewed today. So I'm looking forward to that. So I'm glad that the NFL is allowing these guys to interview for a job, even if the season's just about wrapping up. So there's a lot of activity in the Jaguars' corner, and we hope it's going to be positive results.
Yeah, we're definitely hoping that things go out well for the Jacksonville Jaguars and that things get, better. I mean, it's been an awful look at this, and you talk about we're going to have to operate on the Jaguars, and you said maybe they need a heart. I think we need to send them over to L.A. I think they need total plastic surgery, and I think they need to be, at this point, it's scary what we've been. It's almost like plastic surgery gone wrong, is how I would describe Urban Meyer. It's like when they give you the duck lips and you can't close your mouth, and you try to drink a glass of water, but you can't sit through the straw because the Botox was too much. So that's kind of what it feels like to me for these Jaguars in recent history. But, PJ, I mean, it's sad. And it's sad because, and again, they mirror my hometown Syracuse Orange. For some reason, in a not great way, these two teams mirror each other when it comes to trying to find the right coach and trying to find the right fit. I mean, you look at Jacksonville. You had Gus Bradley for a little bit. You bring in Doug Marrone, and you entrench him into the staff, almost like telling Gus, like, "Hey, we have your replacement already here. Thanks." And then you replace him, and then you give Doug a little bit, and I think maybe one season extra than what I expected. And then you go from there. And you open up the door to Urban Meyer, you want to make a big old splash, and it doesn't work, and in less than a year, he's gone. When you make a coaching change, and it doesn't even last a season, that's where things get really dicey. And, in a way, you look at it and go, wow, that's negative. But in another way, you look at it as a positive and say, well, thank God, just like, what do you always say to your loved ones when they're dating somebody who's really just not good for them? You say, well, thank God you found out now before you got really involved. And so for the Jaguars, I feel that way. It's like, thank goodness you found out now about Urban Meyer before you got really involved and invested and wasted more money and wasted more time and energy. So, essentially, Urban Meyer is just like a really bad girlfriend or boyfriend that the Jaguars decided to date for a little while, and I'm just happy they didn't get hitched.
Well, we talked about it for a month, saying that Khan really needs to make a real splash here, a real sexy hire, if you will, using that term. And Meyer, I suppose, was supposed to be it. He was supposed to be the big one coming in. He had all the experience. He had this and this and this and this and this. Well, we found out it wasn't true. Coaches, I guess coaches are hired to be fired, but unfortunately, I read this morning where one of your coaches from Syracuse recently passed away yesterday, I guess, Greg Robinson.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Yeah, he passed away, and the thing is, obviously he had a tumultuous time with the fans while he was in Syracuse, but people need to understand something, and this is kind of funny, Greg, because you reminded us of Josh McDaniels coached the Broncos when we were on the show last week. And as a head coach, his only other head coaching stint, if he were to get another one here in the NFL, and you go to Greg Robinson and say, okay, well, he had a tumultuous time with Syracuse, and he lost a bunch of games, and he lost more than he won, and then the NCAA came in and erased like the only wins that he even had. But here's the irony of all this: he won 2 Super Bowls as the defensive coordinator of the Broncos. He won in 97 and 98. I believe it was Super Bowl 32 and Super Bowl 33. And so, he is a Super Bowl champion. He had 2 Super Bowl rings and passed away yesterday. And I believe at 71 years old. So very sad, very young. To me, 71 these days is nothing. So, it was very sad to see that come across. And, I did put a message out to Greg Robinson and the family, just, and that Greg's spirit gets back to heaven safe and sound and well. And, this is where you kind of have to sit with yourself and be really honest with yourself. I had to be honest with myself and said, okay, so this coach didn't win a lot, but did I treat him like a human being? Could I have been nicer to him on the air? Could I have said, him and I never spoke, but it's, could I have said things better? Could I have said things differently? Because here's the thing. He's been, the kind of whipping post of Syracuse fans and people talking about the team and whatnot. But then, a man passes away, and it makes you stop and say to yourself, you know what? wins and losses aside, this man passed away. This man had a family. This man had dreams and aspirations. I'm sure he didn't want to go right now. So, it's really sad to see. And, I pray and I hope for him all the best. And I hope that he goes and says hello and gets a big hug from another orange and blue Bronco and Syracuse orange, and that's Floyd Little. So I'm very much hoping that he finds his peace in heaven and that his loved ones find their peace here on earth, and that they all stay connected. I always tell people, dying you destroyed our death, rising you restored our life is Jesus. And, my hope is that people feel that and know that when a loved one passes away, Jesus destroyed death. So the hope is that you can always feel that loved one with you. And I know my grandma's with me. I know I got my dogs. I know I got a lot of loved ones. My grandfather's by my side, my other grandma. So, we wish all the best to Greg's family. And it's just sad, PJ. It really just brings to light the reality. I mean, John Madden passing away and Greg Robinson passing away and Betty White. I mean, it's a reminder that nobody's untouchable, and eventually it's our time. So, hopefully it helps us to reflect and make sure that we spend more time with those that we love.
That's true. Rest in peace, Coach. That doesn't mean rip from Yellowstone either. That means rest in peace. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. So PJ and I here this morning talking about so many different pieces of what's going on in the world of collegiate and professional football. PJ, before we jump into the college side of things, I do want to take a look at where we're at right now, playoff scenario-wise. And there's a lot of things that can happen that can kind of shake out here within this next week. And so, people thinking, well, this part of the season doesn't mean anything. The 18th week doesn't have any value is really not true. There's a lot of value in what can be happening here playoff-wise. The scenarios are all over the place. This is what it looks like. So the Bengals have clinched the AFC North, believe it or not. Kansas City clinched the AFC West. The Titans have the AFC South. The Bills and the Patriots are in the playoffs, but their division hasn't been decided yet. The Ravens can still make the playoffs. If they got to win, they need the Chargers to lose, Indianapolis to lose, and Miami to lose or tie. Buffalo clinches their division if they win, or if New England loses, or if them and New England both tie. The Cincinnati Bengals are in a place where they'll get the number 1 seed over the Titans. If they win, Tennessee loses, Kansas City loses, New England loses or ties. All of that needs to happen. Or it's a combination of Cincinnati wins, Tennessee loses, Kansas City ties, and Buffalo wins, which, we could see at least 2 of those things happen. The Colts get a playoff berth if they win or tie, or the Chargers lose and Baltimore Pitt tie, or the Chargers lose, Pitt loses, Miami wins. Kansas City Chiefs, they will get the number 1 seed if they win and Tennessee loses or ties, or if they tie and Tennessee loses. The Vegas Raiders are trying to get in. They can get in simply if they win, or if they tie and Indianapolis loses, or Indy loses and Pitt loses or ties. Chargers get in if they win or tie, and so that's where they're looking right now. And then the Patriots clinch the number 1 seed if they win, Buffalo loses or ties, Kansas City loses, and Tennessee loses, and they clinch their division of the AFC East if they win and Buffalo loses or ties, or if they tie and Buffalo loses. Pitt needs a million things. The Steelers get in and make sure that Ben has one more game in them. If they win, Indy loses, the Vegas Chargers game does not end in a tie. And the Titans clinch the number 1 seed if they win, simply, or if they tie and Kansas City loses or ties, or if Kansas City loses, Cincy loses or ties, New England loses or ties, or Kansas City loses, Cincy loses or ties, and Buffalo wins. So I don't expect the listeners to remember all of that, but I send that.
Remember all that stuff anyway. Right now,
but I send that all to you as an accredited member of the media for the NFL. They send us out an email to give us all the scenarios. But I think the craziest scenario would be if we see the Steelers get in. That's kind of how I look at it right now. But PJ, think about it like this: there's 7 spots this time around. So instead of 6, there's 7. We know that 5 of them are clinched, and the Ravens the Ravens, and let me see, I want to look at this one more time. So the Ravens, the Colts, the Raiders, the Chargers, and the Steelers are all trying to fight for the last 2 spots in the final week, which is going to make football interesting here in Week 18.
True. You bring up a good point there with the Ravens. If Lamar Jackson's on the field, they got a chance to win. And if the Ravens are in the playoffs, they're a dangerous team to play with him. So I can't wrap around everything you just said because I can't remember it all. But that's the one thing that sticks out for me, more so than Indianapolis or so on. But I think that the Ravens with Lamar Jackson on the field, and he's been out for 4 weeks or so now. If he comes back fresh, boy, watch out.
Yeah, and you would think that being the competitor that he is, if he can come back, that he would, and he's been out for weeks, and obviously that's, God bless me, that's affected the run here and the opportunity that the Ravens could have. They looked more like pretenders last year than contenders, and then this season they started to look like contenders again. And then you see Lamar Jackson, the cog that makes that whole thing run there in Baltimore, and not having him be a part of it just changed the whole dynamic of it. They had some struggles with him in there, and with him out of there, obviously they're a different team, and it just goes to show his value to Baltimore and what he brings to the table. Once again, when people saying all this season long, that man's going to get paid, and I'm sure that he will. Definitely, as he knows and the Ravens know, that without him, they are a different team. In the NFC, 6 of 7 playoff spots have been clinched. The Green Bay Packers know that they're the number 1 seed of the NFC. The Cowboys have the NFC East. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going back to try and repeat with Tom Brady, the NFC South Division title winners. And the Cardinals, the Rams, and the Eagles all made the playoffs. So we know that outside of that, the Saints and the Niners are still fighting for a playoff berth. This is a lot shorter of a conversation to have. It's as simple as this. Arizona and Los Angeles are fighting, the Rams that is, are fighting for the NFC West title. Arizona gets it if they win and the Rams lose. The Rams have an easier road. All they have to do is win or tie, or Arizona loses or ties. They're both going to the playoffs, but who's winning the division is up to them this weekend. And the Cardinals 11-5, the Rams 12-4. I warned you about the Cardinals last year, and look at them flying high this year. The final playoff spot will be decided to either go to the Saints or the Niners. Believe it or not, with the Saints having 372 quarterbacks, this could still end up for the Saints. All they have to do is win and have San Fran lose. But San Fran has an easier road. They have to win or tie, or New Orleans loses or ties. So if San Fran wins, they get the last spot. If New Orleans wins and San Fran loses, they get in. A lot easier to remember. We know a lot more of the NFC is locked up, and the records in the NFC are a lot better than the AFC this year. What are your thoughts?
It's true. New Orleans, even being eligible for playoffs this year, is remarkable based on what Drew Brees retired. Taysom Hill looked awful good last week, throwing the ball much better than normal. Look, the guy's a quarterback, okay? It's just like he's a running quarterback, okay, I get that, the rest of the running quarterback. But he's a smart guy, and he's a big guy. So if he wants to run and get the heck kicked out of him, fine, it's part of the game plan. But he's throwing the ball last week, looked really good. And they're also, I feel, dangerous this time of year.
Yeah. New Orleans in a quarterback carousel. Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill, Ian Book.
Oh my goodness, great.
We had to mention Jameis, especially if Greg's going into surgery. It's got to be like the last thing that he hears this morning before he gets set. So what are your thoughts on Jameis? Has been out for so long, PJ. We've missed your thoughts on him since he's been on injured reserve most of the season.
I didn't want to rag on Jameis when he's hurt. Jameis showed this year that with a good coach that he can manage a game. And not throw the ball downfield, but manage the game. I'm surprised that Bruce Arians sort of got rid of him real quick, but if you throw 30 interceptions playing for Bruce Arians, you're not going to play very long. And I'll tell you, if you throw 30 interceptions with Sean Payton, you're not going to last very long anyway. So he was on a short leash. He managed the game, ran the ball a little bit, dinky-dunky passes here and there, threw downfield every once in a while. But, you know, he threw, when he's inside the 10-yard line, he's a big, tall guy, so he looked over the defensive and threw some nice touchdown passes. I mean, he's an adequate quarterback. A superstar, no. And I really hope he comes back well from this injury.
Yeah, I hope he does too. And, you know, it's just a reminder to me that I wouldn't be that bad of a quarterback in the NFL if I can throw at least 33 interceptions and still have a job. So, you know, it's something for me to know for future thoughts. But yeah, I mean, I hope that Jameis comes back healthy and well, and I'm hoping to see him back out on the field very soon. Ian Book, I mean, PJ, let's talk about this historically. Notre Dame has had some success, obviously, in the NFL. And I look at Zach Martin, the offensive lineman, still there with the Cowboys. Greg Love that we brought up, Jameis today. So, you know, looking at Notre Dame quarterbacks in the NFL, I mean, we take a look at the history of this. And Joe Theismann obviously has done some fantastic things. But when we look at it, just kind of going through here and say to ourselves, okay, Ian Book didn't look good. You know, Brandon Wimbush, obviously, he went on to the UCF. There was nothing to be talked about there. I mean, we'll look at the list of guys. I want to go, let me see here. I want to go way back in the day. So let's go to Joe Theismann. So we had Theismann, and then we have Montana. And obviously, those are two of the best you're going to see. And then Steve Beuerlein was pretty good. He played with the Jags and the Panthers. Rick Mirer played with the Seahawks for a while, went around the league, so there's some good there. And then after that, I'm just going down the list here. Ron Powless, Tom Krug, Paul Falia, Jarius Jackson, Eric Chappell, Arnaz Battle, Matt LaVecchio, Carlisle Holiday, Pat Dillingham, Brady Quinn, Demetrius Jones, Jimmy Clausen, Dane Christ, Tommy Rees, Everett Golson, Malik Zaire, Deshaun Kaiser, Ian Book. There ain't been nobody. So, you know, I mean, we look at that list that started with Theismann and Montana, and we get to where we are today. And my have the Notre Dame quarterbacks just not in any way, shape, or form translated to the NFL.
No, it's because people always think that Notre Dame is better than they are, and they think Notre Dame is better than they are, and they're not. They don't win enough against quality teams. So, you know, all we got to do, of course, you know, Montana and Theismann are a different cut, but the guys that you mentioned, hell, I can't even remember some of those guys. The only one I think reminds me of any of them is Brady Quinn, and he looked like he was pretty decent, but then he didn't last. None of these guys last. So I don't know what the game plan is at Notre Dame, but it's not enough to win. And hopefully this new young coach, who is bringing a lot of enthusiasm to the team, I've read that a little bit, young man. So, I mean, he could be around for 20 years or he could be around for 1 year, so you don't know. Let's hope that he recruits and coaches a lot better than Brian Kelly and the rest of the guys.
Yeah, and Brian Kelly getting set to take over LSU, and I think Brian's going to, unfortunately, realize very quickly when you don't win in the SEC, it ain't like Notre Dame where, you know, you were brought up about potentially being let go years ago and you made it through and made it through and made it through. At LSU, if you don't win in the here and now, they're going to be talking about Brian Kelly as yesterday's news, the second game that you play in and that you coach in. So, I mean, that's just I think Brian Kelly really needs to understand that, you know, my show's name fits here. He may get a wake-up call inside of the SEC. We'll take a step aside. Thank you. We'll take a step aside inside of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We're inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Josh Black coming up in hour number 2 as he gets set for the NFL draft coming out of Syracuse. And PJ and I, plenty more to say when it comes to bowl season and the college football playoff. We get into all of that right after this fast break, where sports meets that thing called life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Stay with us. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville beats. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Hanging out here inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Cafe Kubal brings you all that amazing coffee, chai tea, tea in general. Of course, their sandwiches and their breakfast, everything that they have, all their treats, a lot of great things. And, of course, you can get your reusable, refillable mugs there. You can get mugs for the house to hang out with. You can get coffee, bags of coffee to take down to Florida to keep for yourself. You will be stocked and ready to go when it comes to Cafe Kubal. So do it right, do it local, and get out to 3501 James Street, as well as 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse, New York, and of course inside of Galisanos Children's Hospital in downtown Syracuse. And you can also find them on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, as well as on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in their drive-thru location, and PB&J's Lunchbox, which I love and will send you to every single Monday through Saturday of the week. They're now proudly serving Cafe Kubal, as two of my partners are now working together hand in hand, which is awesome. So a lot of great stuff going on where sports meets that thing called life, and I am so excited about everything we're doing in our central and upstate New York community, and I love you all. I appreciate you all. And with that being said, in my second home, the Sunshine State, PJ and I are here every Thursday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. speaking on the world of sports. We talked on the Jaguars and NFL side, told you the playoff scenarios. Not much you need to know about the NFC, but in the AFC, it's like taking, I don't know, AP calculus. So we appreciate you being here with us, trying to navigate through Week 18, and we're looking forward to what's coming up, as well as what's coming up in the college football playoff. PJ, before we go there, our bowl games, I took a look at the numbers here, bowl-wise, and I definitely want to let people know this. I mentioned this earlier on. Of the 43 bowl games scheduled, 22 of those bowl games were wide margin victories. Actually, I should say 23, because I believe that the final one here was one that I did not include, where Kansas State won 42-20. So yes, so 23 bowl games were won by large margins, more than a touchdown. 14 ended in a touchdown separation or less. 5 games were canceled. So we take a look at this right now by the numbers, and by the numbers, only 14 of the 43 bowl games actually ended in 1 possession or less. A field goal, a point or two, a touchdown, and neither of those games were the college football playoff semifinals, so not even those games were close. What are your thoughts on a bowl season with 43 games and only 14 of those games were actually close games at the end of it?
Well, you've heard me rant on this before. It's entirely too many games. I mean, that's why I don't watch them. I mean, you ask me if I watch the games, I said no. I'm not going to watch a couple of 6-6 teams play a game. I'm not going to do that, unless it's Florida, of course. And hell, they got beat. So it's not fun. I mean, it sure is fun for the teams. It's fun for the parents of the teams. Maybe it's regionally fun because it brings in some spin-off effect of income. But it's non-competitive, if that's what you want to say. It's non-competitive for me and for most of the fans in the country. I'll guarantee you that.
Yeah, you know, I mean, in looking at these games in bowl season, knowing that of the 14 that were actually close, neither one of those was the college football playoff semifinals. What are your thoughts on this? As, you know, we look at even the semis, and the semis were not close by any stretch of the imagination. Now, there's respect that's come, and Nick Saban, and once again, I want to thank Sports Illustrated for taking the answer to my question and using it as a story, and for everybody that utilizes the answers to the questions that I have and feed their family throughout the year. I appreciate not getting any credit for it, but you making money off of it. So, looking at where we stand right now, Nick Saban said Cincinnati deserves to be here, and I agree with that. Now, that wasn't a bad game. I watched it again. I went and rewatched a portion of it, and, you know, they lost by 21. They lost by 3 touchdowns. You know, Cincinnati just couldn't get in the end zone. But there were some moments where Cincinnati was striking, especially early. So it doesn't look as bad as maybe the score was. And I want to remind everybody, if you're like, oh, man, whoa, Cincinnati lost by 21. Guess what? Michigan lost by 23. So, you know, when we look at these games, PJ, is the SEC just leaps and bounds better than everybody else, or was this a bad matchup? Or how do you view the fact that of the 14 bowl games of the 43 that were played, or 43 that were supposed to be played, 5 canceled. So of the 38 that were played, 14 of them actually close. Of those 14 close games, neither one of them, like I said, was a college football playoff semifinal game. What are your thoughts on the fact that these 2 semis ended with a team losing by 23 and a team losing by 21?
Well, certainly, you're not going to. It didn't surprise me at all, and doesn't surprise most of the people in the country, the pundits. I got to, you know, Cincinnati was a very good team this year. They did what they were supposed to do. They cracked the Final Four, which is, you know, that's to their credit. But both games were both games were not competitive, Daniel. Let's play. I knew that. I always tell you, when you look at the line of scrimmage, the first couple of plays, the first couple of series in a game, you'll know right away who's going to win a team, who dominates the line of scrimmage. And Alabama just beat the hell out of Cincinnati, and look what Georgia did. I mean, they manhandled Michigan, a very good Michigan team, if there is such a thing in the Big Ten. It just wasn't competitive. And I know that there's a lot of haters out there that want to say, we get to see another SEC game. I don't want to see any more SEC games. Well, folks, you're going to watch this one because it's going to be a hell of a game. You're going to be able to turn the sound down on your television and still hear the hitting. So, strap it up because it's going to be a hell of a game. Yeah, very, very, very physical. This one's going to be scary. It's going to be so physical. I'm afraid for some of these kids, they're going to be hitting so hard.
Do you think the SEC need play a championship at the end of the season like everybody else, when essentially the SEC championship is the college football playoff national championship?
Good question. The SEC is going to be loaded here coming up in a couple of years, Daniel, with Oklahoma and Texas joining. So the rest of the country is going to have to catch up. We've talked about this before, too. They have to strengthen their schedules. They have to recruit better. They have to coach better. In order to compete with these guys, like one I read yesterday, you got to be in on the field. You can poll these things all you want, and the Cincinnati people, they were clamoring for a chance. Well, they got a chance and they got beat bad. But you've got to beat these teams on the field. You're not going to win in a poll.
Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, the SEC, we can argue that the SEC essentially, now granted, do I think Cincinnati deserved to be there? Yes. Do I think that the Big Ten is as good as people say it is? No. Do I think the conversation to fire Jim Harbaugh is probably back? Probably. And, not that I think that that's the right thing to do. I think he's outlasted a lot longer than people would have expected in Michigan. But to take a look at this thing, let me be clear. I believe that Cincinnati deserved to be there. I believe that Notre Dame has no business having been there the 2 times they were there. I believe that the Big Ten gets unfair treatment. The only thing that makes sense about the college football playoff to me, is that the SEC is the only squad, year in and year out, the only conference that has shown you that they deserve to have a ticket punched in the preseason because you know that they're going to be there after the regular season. There is no conference in America. Now, let me say this to you because I need to be clear. I'm not saying the American Athletic isn't good. I'm not saying that Clemson isn't good. I'm not saying that there isn't talent in the Big Ten. Let me be clear about this. What I'm saying to you is the Big Ten getting preferential treatment is ridiculous because they haven't shown me on the field. Yes, Ohio State won the first ever college football playoff. And since then, they also, remind you, scored 0 against Clemson in one of the games. Cincinnati didn't score 0 against Alabama, so they were better than Ohio State by those metrics. So my reality is simply this. When you look at the college football playoff, there are things that are not fair. The only thing that makes sense is that the SEC has demanded respect. They've earned respect, and they're the only conference in America that has consistently earned the respect that they deserve. The SEC is the best conference in football, and if we made the college football playoff only the SEC, I don't think I can argue with it.
True. Unfortunately, most of the country wouldn't be watching it, though. But if you're a pure football purist, if I can say that, you're going to love this game this week. Stetson Bennett really hasn't got the credit. He's sort of like a Joe Burrow, although Joe doesn't throw as many yards as Joe Burrow does. Joe Burrow was supposed to be, he just takes care of the ball for LSU, winds up throwing 1,000,000 yards, goes, and look what he's doing now. He's just an incredible quarterback now. Stetson Bennett is the same kind of guy. Not very big, doesn't have a strong arm, doesn't run very well, but what does he do? He wins. He wins. He makes the right decisions. He's an older student, 23 years old or 22, something like that. And when you want to put the reins of your team in a quarterback, you don't want to be at a freshman quarterback who's afraid of the deer in the light. No, you put it in someone like Stetson Bennett's hands and let him go. He could very well be the key in this game coming up. If he plays well and just takes care of the ball, and Georgia does their normal defensive duty, they got a very good chance of winning this game, Daniel. If not, if they rough them up early, Alabama gets on the roll, you're going to see those 4-3 sprinters all over the field.
Well, and the thing is, you take a look at this with Papa Joe on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You mentioned Stetson Bennett here inside the Cafe Cuball studios. Stetson Bennett, the starting quarterback for the Georgia Bulldogs, mind you, folks, in the SEC, he came to the Georgia Bulldogs as a preferred walk-on from Pierce County, Georgia High School. This man was a walk-on for the Georgia Bulldogs. He played a little bit in 2019, had a 74% completion percentage in just 27 attempts. In 2020, he attempted 155 passes, was 55.5% completion percentage, over 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. This season took a massive jump. 261 attempts, over 100 more than any other time than he has been in college football with Georgia. 168 completions, 261 attempts, 64.4% completion percentage, which would be very good for the NFL, 2,638 yards, 27 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, and he has run in a touchdown each of his 3 seasons with Georgia. He's got 4. He had 1, then 2, then 1 this season. So what about that, PJ? Let's not only talk about the fact that Stetson Bennett is the starting quarterback for Georgia, but that he was a preferred walk-on that is now commanding who has been the number 1 team in the nation the majority of the season and one of the most respected teams in the country.
Well, congratulations to him. I didn't realize that from him. I didn't realize that he was a preferred walk-on. I imagine they gave him a scholarship sooner or later. But
yeah.
The guy's been around so long, he's probably got his master's already. But when you talk about Kirby Smart and Jimbo, your man Jimbo and Nick Saban, these guys. First of all, they know how to sell. They know how to sell themselves, and they know how to sell a program. If you look at the recruiting ranges from this year, the first 3 are Texas A&M, Alabama, and Georgia, and it's not close. Those 3 far outshattered the rest of Ohio State all the way down the road. They know what they're doing. They know how to recruit. They know how to coach. They know how to talk to mamas at the kitchen table. They know what they're doing, and Kirby Smart is a hell of a coach. If he did that with Stetson Bennett, I got a little bit more respect for Kirby Smart. He's got a chance to win this game, but it's going to have to be perfectly played by Stetson Bennett.
What are your thoughts on the fact that in this championship, Kirby Smart is playing the coach that hired him? Mind you, he spent a lot of time in Tuscaloosa with Nick Saban, and Nick Saban's got a big old coaching tree. What are your thoughts on the fact that, Kirby came from the coaching tree of Nick Saban?
I think he's said all he's going to say about this. I don't think he wants to talk about it anymore. And I heard him say, listen, all I want to do is win the game. That's all. Not beat Nick Saban, beat him upside the head, or score 50 points. All he wants to do is win. If he wins, he's happy. If he doesn't win, he's going to be a grumpy SOB for the rest of the year. But he's got a hell of a recruiting class coming in to try it all over again. But these guys, they lose what? 10 or 12 players every year off their starting teams. Most of them go to the end of NFL and play on Sunday, and they're just good coaches, great coaches. And this game is going to be a really spectacle to watch. I think Kirby's about done all that Nick Saban tree stuff anymore. All he wants to do is win.
Yeah, Al Davis, just win, baby, win. So a wake-up call with Dan Tortora inside the Cafe Cuball studios, hanging out with Papa Joe. Started with the NFL, the Jaguars Coaching Search, as well as the NFL playoff scenario for the teams that are remaining to fight for this. The Saints and the Niners still alive in the NFC, and in the AFC, the Chargers and the Raiders and the Ravens and the Steelers all still alive to try and make it happen. Then we jumped over to bowl season, and now in the college football playoff conversation, PJ, to take a look at this. Who is the better team in your opinion? I'm going to read it off. So I want everybody to think about this, and I'm going to put this poll question out there on the Twitter as well at CallDT and see what your thoughts are. But I'm going to read these off, and then you can let me know. I'm going to read you off Georgia's schedule. I'm going to read you off Alabama's schedule. So, Georgia, first game of the season, defeated Clemson, who at the time was considered the third best team in the country, defeated them 10-3. Blew out a strong UAB team, who's going to be in the American Athletic. Blew out South Carolina inside of the SEC. Blew out Vanderbilt 62-0. Vanderbilt's they've been the whipping post for sure of the SEC. Defeated Arkansas, who at the time was ranked 8th in the nation. Blew them out 37-0. Had back-to-back games where they shut teams out and scored a combined 99 points to 0. Defeated Auburn on the road by blowing them out. Defeated Kentucky by 17, ranked number 11th in the country. Blew out Florida. Blew out Missouri. Blew out Tennessee on the road. Then played Charleston Southern. Blew them out. Then blew out Georgia Tech. Third game this season where Georgia prevented a single point. 3 shutouts this season in the Georgia Tech rivalry of the state of Georgia. Defeated them 45-0, not much of a rivalry anymore. And then lost 41-24 in a romp by Alabama in the SEC championship. And then blew out Michigan in the college football playoff semifinals. So that's Georgia's side of things. Ton of blowouts and 3 shutouts. Here's Alabama's side of things. This is their schedule. Alabama this season did as follows. Blew out Miami when Miami was considered a good team, 14th in the nation. Blew out Mercer. Barely defeated Florida on the road when Florida was ranked 11th in the nation, 31-29. Defeated Southern, I think this is Southern Mississippi, 63-14. Blew out Ole Miss in the lane train when they were ranked 12th in the nation. Lost to Texas A&M, 41-38 in a shootout. Blew out Mississippi State, 49-9. Blew out Tennessee. Barely beat LSU, 20-14. Defeated New Mexico State as they should in a big way. Beat Arkansas by 7, 42-35 in a shootout. And Arkansas was 21 in the nation. Barely defeated Auburn at Auburn, and then defeated Georgia. And then won by 21 over Cincinnati. So your thoughts on, now that I've spelled out the season of Georgia and Alabama, who do you consider on paper, based on that information, that statistical information, who is the better team in your opinion on paper?
Well, I think obviously it's Georgia because of the teams that they played and beat.
Yeah.
Georgia beat a really good South Carolina team who wound up beating North Carolina in a bowl. And Kentucky turned out to be a killer this year. So, you gotta understand what the Alabama juggernaut is about. No one in the country wants to play him, okay? They got to play him in the SEC, but the rest of these cupcakes come in, then they give him $1 million to fly from New Mexico or wherever the hell they come from and play the game. You're not – look, at independents or other conference teams are not going to want to play Alabama. Georgia's a different story because they haven't had the history that Alabama has. They may make history this Monday, but it's proof of the pudding. Alabama is the best team and has been for I don't know how many years. Georgia, to answer your question, I think was the better team on paper this year based on the schools that they beat, and they beat a lot of good SEC teams. So, and Alabama just had the cupcakes. So, Georgia had cupcakes too, but not as bad as Alabama. So that answers your question. And you can throw all that stuff out the window, Dan. You can forget about it. Forget about the first game they played against each other. Forget about the Georgia-South Carolina or the Auburn-Alabama game. Forget about all that. You'll throw it all out the window because this Monday night they're going to line up against each other for bragging rights, and we get to watch it. That's the most exciting part.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When we look at this, is that Georgia is clearly the better team, and when we look at it, on paper, like you said, who they beat, how they won their games. They weren't barely squeaking by. They were shutting people out. They did it all throughout the season, not just in certain sectors of the season, and their only loss of the season is to Alabama. So and Alabama's losses to Texas A&M, who's another good team who didn't play in the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl because of COVID reasons. So, we take a look at these two teams, and Georgia looks like the clear favorite based on what we're talking about and what they've accomplished this season. However, it's Alabama. And like I've said before, there's only one team in the nation that can lose 2 games and make it in the college football playoff, and that's Alabama. I know it hasn't had to happen yet, but I want to remind you that the last time that Alabama and Georgia played, and the only time they played in the college football playoff, was in a year where Alabama didn't even go to their own championship game in the SEC. They made it to the college football playoff watching their championship game in the SEC. That's how much the committee trusted in them. I don't know if there's ever going to be a year under Nick Saban where we will not see Alabama in the college football playoff. They're the one ticket you can punch in February knowing that they're going to be there in the following year. So it's just crazy to me to really imagine a world without Alabama. But again, we look at this and we look at by the numbers, and Georgia looks really, really strong, and they look like the better team. But there's the Alabama factor, there's the Nick Saban factor, where it's like, okay, you know what? Yeah, they were better than us this year, but you put us head-to-head, and what do? We beat them. So, the Nick Saban piece of this thing, this is the thing that people need to understand. There's a lot of coaches around the country that are really, really good. And guess who taught them? Nick Saban. So guess who knows how to beat them? Nick Saban, okay? It's the sensei and it's the protege. And Nick Saban is the sensei. He knows how to beat you because he trained you. So, to me it's like, yeah, these coaches can be good and they can do some good things, but the buzzsaw you always have to go through is Alabama. And knowing that Alabama is who Alabama is, I fully expect them, like you said, to throw it all out the window, to not give a dang about whatever's going on, and to make this very clear. They are Alabama. They are led by Nick Saban. They change every few years the names on that roster. And how much does it matter? It doesn't, because Alabama is Alabama is Alabama. And Georgia may look like the best team in the nation, but we all know, like you said, ain't nobody want to go through Tuscaloosa, and that's the truth.
It's true. I think both teams are at a crossroads here now in their programs. Not really both teams. I think Georgia is, because Georgia doesn't have a quarterback coming forward that's going to take over for Bennett. And I don't know about their depth chart. I don't know if they got anyone hidden. Look what Alabama does this year with a freshman quarterback. This Bryce kid is an absolute killer. Not a very big guy, but smart with the ball, throws the ball well. Now, for the rest of the nation, he's got 2 more years eligibility at at Alabama, before he can go to the pros. That means 2 more years of Bryce Young, and that's a scary thought. So going forward, Georgia's going to have to come up with something down the road, or maybe in their recruiting files, that's going to compete with Alabama in these games. That's the way it's going to be. So even if we see Georgia win this week, which certainly wouldn't surprise me. Again, going forward, Alabama's going to be a killer team next year and the year after with this quarterback. And I don't know where Nate Saban gets these guys. He gets them out of Louisiana and Alabama and Mississippi. These wide receivers are so damn fast, and their leading wide receivers hurt for the game, so he's not going to be playing. They're so fast that even with a marginal quarterback, you get the ball in their hands and they're gone. So I think you're going to see that the overall speed from Alabama is going to overtake probably Georgia. I think Georgia's got the muscles, but Alabama on the field with this kid throwing the ball are scary. And they got more. If you look at the recruiting files, they got 3 or 4 more guys that they recruited that are super, super fast. So that's what Nick Saban loves to stretch the field. He's got a big old bruising running back. Look at the running back that he's had. Najee Harris last year, the big kid from Tennessee now, who's Henry, who kills everyone. Now they got this Robinson kid here, who's 6'2" and 225. Robinson is a 6th-year senior. How about that? I don't know if people know that. So he's an older guy, 23 years old, who stayed with the system, believed in Nick Saban. Here he is on the cusp of a Super Bowl, of a championship here, and he's the running back and is going to go high in the draft. So that's the way Alabama's set up, and people have got to say, I don't want to stop it, Jake. I don't want to keep hearing about this. And I said, listen, I don't care if you don't want to hear about it. If you don't want to hear about it, don't tune in. But don't forget about it, because they're not going to go away anytime soon.
That coming from Papa Joe here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. And, you know, we take a look at 2018's college football playoff, and the only time that Alabama and Georgia met each other in the championship game, Alabama won the game 26-23 in overtime. PJ, I don't know if you remember this, but you and I will be together for this. I've been covering the college football national championship remotely, been able to do virtual Zooms as that's the way things have gone in this pandemic all the last couple of years. But because, you know, look on the brighter side of things, because of the pandemic, because of everything that's going on, we're still able to, you know, cover these and be credentialed and you know, as a member of the media, to have a college football national championship credential where I have the opportunity to interview Alabama and Georgia and Cincinnati and whatnot. We had the opportunity for Michigan as well. You know, to be able to be out here means the world to me, because I will be with you and Miss Mary for the national championship, and I'll also be covering the game at the same time, essentially two places at once. The game's at 8 p.m. on ESPN, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, January 10th, this coming Monday, Alabama and Georgia. But to go back to what it looked like when they faced off against each other in 2018, this is how crazy this is. I'm going to paint this picture for you because this is insane. These are the names that scored. Rodrigo Blankenship, who's been the kicker for the Colts, he was there for Georgia as their kicker. McCole Hardman, a wide receiver on the Kansas City Chiefs, was playing for Georgia. Tua Tagovailoa threw touchdowns to 3 players in the game. Each of these 3 players, at some point in their NFL career, were not only on a roster, starting, in rotation, but they were all the number 1 receiver at a certain point in their career on their respective teams. Henry Ruggs III with the Raiders, Calvin Ridley with the Falcons, most recently Devontae Smith with Alabama. Tua Tagovailoa in this game against Georgia threw touchdown passes to guys that went on. This is to just paint the picture of the level of talent in the SEC. Guys that went on to be starting receivers in the NFL are the 3 guys he threw touchdowns to. Jake Fromm was in this game playing quarterback for Georgia. Fantastic game, came all the way down to the end here. And Devontae Smith's touchdown, a 41-yard catch from Tua, is the separation in the game that helped Alabama to win the matchup. So, PJ, a couple things here. Your thoughts on knowing they've played each other before, and your thoughts on going back and looking at this game and going, oh, who scored? Oh, that's a starter in the NFL, NFL starter, NFL starter, NFL starter, NFL starter. I mean, this is rich with the NFL. We just look at not even the guys that played, just at the scoring plays of the game, and we're looking at 2 teams that sent a bunch of players to the NFL that are now starters in the NFL or have been. Says a lot about Alabama, Georgia, that in this game, as we reflect on it, we say to ourselves today, well, if you have Henry Ruggs, Calvin Ridley, and Devontae Smith on the same team, how do you not win a championship?
It's true. Very true. We're excited because we get to watch them on Sunday. And I follow everything pretty closely down here with the SEC, so none of this surprises me. I remember when Tua came up, I was very critical of him because I didn't think he was the kind of player that Nick Saban was looking for. I know he came from Hawaii and he was a 5-star and all this other kind of stuff, you know, and he came to Nick Saban. I really didn't believe in the guy too much until I started to see him throw. Not a very big guy, you know, and he's not a beast, not tall or strong or anything. He's just smart, and that's what this quarterback is. This kid now that he's playing for him. Tua has made me a believer because of what he's done with Miami. Actually got Miami in a position to be in a playoff, and close to it at least. I didn't think that he was going to be much as a pro either, because I didn't think he was good enough. Well, if you watch Tua over the years play for Alabama, then you know that there's one aspect that we failed to see when you're talking about these players is who did they play for. If you got the roster of the players from Georgia and Alabama or Ohio State or Michigan and go down the road, you'll see most of these players came from Alabama, and most of them are starters in the NFL. So it goes to show you what a program does. Nick Saban, it hasn't been an easy job for him. He loses coordinators all over the place. He loses defensive coordinators. He loses offensive coordinators. The guy's got to plug his holes, and what does he do? He comes in with an extraordinary team again when he loses all these coaches. So I guess when you're a coach in the national spotlight, and you get a call from Nick Saban and say, "Would you like to be my offensive coordinator?" And you say, "Hell yes, when is the ticket coming for me to fly?" That's about all.
Yeah.
So both teams are extraordinary, and I'm going to enjoy watching them.
Yeah, and if you remember, PJ, I was with you last time Alabama and Georgia played each other 3 years ago in the national championship game. I remember being in the guest room watching the game thinking, oh my gosh, Georgia's going to do it. And then Alabama ended up winning. So I was in St. Augustine 3 years ago, and it's only fitting I'm in St. Augustine now. And I'm sure Crimson Tide fans are happy because they're like, hey, last time you were there, we won. So I'm sure they're happy. But I, very fittingly, when it's Alabama, Georgia, will be back where I'm supposed to be. So I will be with you and Miss Mary watching the national championship and covering the national championship virtually. So credentialed to cover the game and get to be with my family. I don't know how it gets better than that.
Great. Love to have you. I will be up for this game, and I'm going to stay up. So I won't be able to take my medication until later. So I'm not going to leave you alone. I'm not going to throw you in the guest room again. I'm going to stay with you.
Sounds good. Well, I appreciate it, and I'm excited for it. I can't wait for it, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you down in Florida soon, PJ. In the meantime, stay safe, stay well, and give Miss Mary a hug and a kiss from me, and I'll see you all in just a little bit.
That's good. Welcome to him. Bye.
Take care. Yeah, coming from Papa Joe here, where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Q Ball studios. We're taking a step aside for a fast break. When we spin back around, Josh Black joins the show. Josh Black, awesome player in Syracuse history. He'll be back with us right after this.
Cafe Cabal Mobile Cafe brings the cafe experience to you. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons. Inquire at cafecubal.com. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Here at Progressive Dental, we understand the importance of regular dental visits and preventive care. Cleanings and checkups are essential to good oral health. We have multiple locations in the Southern Tier, so come visit us in Binghamton, Enwell, Kirkwood, Montrose, and Norwich. For self-pay non-insured patients, we offer the Smile Plan, which covers all of your cleanings, x-rays, and exams for an affordable yearly price. Call 607-754-2273 or 607-754-CARE to make an appointment today. For more information, visit our website at progressivedentalny.com.
The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every time. Make sure you make your way to the Millhouse Market today and every single Tuesday through Saturday from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Sundays from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. to enjoy all that they have to offer you, from their homemade breads and desserts to quinoa bowls, rice bowls, salads, brick oven pizzas, and the sandwiches named after the families that helped to settle today's Pulaski. Ingrained in our community and ingrained in our taste buds, they're at your fingertips by downloading the Millhouse Market app on the Google Play or Apple App Store. There you can utilize contactless pay, see their entire menu and everything that's in each of their menu items. And once you're all set and ready to go, you can pay right there on the app, tip on the app, grab your food, and go in their drive-through window. And, of course, you can dine inside if you'd like. And every single weekend they have a bistro menu that changes their inside dining to a bistro restaurant with a specialty menu every weekend, which keeps you coming back for more favorites. And, of course, they have their general store with local products from local companies to pay it forward. Thank you to all you do to the Millhouse Market, 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York. I am always hungry for the Millhouse. It doesn't matter if I've had a full meal. I'm still willing to drive out there and get myself something. The flavors are that fantastic that it just keeps getting better. Millhouse Market, 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York. Worth the drive every single time. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. You're also watching and listening on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt and on facebook.com/livenowdt, all inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. And I'm very happy to have back on the broadcast, but for the first time ever as an NFL draft prospect officially, and that is longtime Syracuse Orange defensive lineman Josh Black. Let's bring him in. Josh, how are we doing today?
Hey, we're doing great. How are we doing?
I'm doing well, man, and we're talking after Christmas and after your birthday, so Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday. I know it's the same day, but you were telling me off the air that Mom finally did right by you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate the warm birthday wishes and Christmas, too. And, yeah, Mom got me a little extra cake, extra food, just a little extra present, too, so that was pretty funny, but it was really no big deal at all, but it was funny to see that my mom pays attention to social media and really took that into account. So appreciate you, Mom.
Yeah, and let's shout out Mom. For people that don't know her first name, let's shout her out and why you think Mom has been such a big impact on your life.
Yeah, Cindy Black right there. She's been the heart and soul of me, pushing me to do whatever I want to do. Always has her in the corner for me. Everything I do, she supports it 150%. And you couldn't ask for a better mother. So appreciate you, Mom.
That coming here from Josh Black. Josh, you made the decision to come back to Syracuse last season after you could have left. You were granted an extra season of eligibility, as everybody was in the world of this pandemic, and gaining the free year I saw you last year without fans in the Dome make a walk with Aaron Service and Kingsley Jonathan. I mean, some of those guys out there, everybody making this walk, wondering if this is going to be it, if this is, you know, the last moment that I'm going to take walking across this field. And you did it with no fans there, but you still did that senior walk. How confident, or what was the percentage-wise maybe of you coming back or leaving at the end of last season? When you were making that walk in 2020, where were you at as far as whether you were coming back or not?
To be honest, we didn't really know what was going to happen in terms of eligibility-wise at that time. Just a lot of uncertainty happening. So a lot of the older guys, we're in the same position, we're in the same boat right there. And if that happened to be our last game, we wanted to make sure that we got our last walk around the field, really soak everything in. And, you know, it kind of just hit us near the last game when we were playing Notre Dame. Like, all right, there's a lot of meat left on the bone. Our job isn't finished here. This can help out the team. This can help out us personally. It can help us out as athletes, students, but also grown men in general. And I feel like that was the group consensus of why all of us came back to kind of pursue our last year there at Syracuse.
And for you, when you're making that walk and you had to do it without the fans, what did it mean to you that there was this extra year given to you so that when you made your official final walk this season, there was actually fans in the stands?
Yeah, it meant the world to me, just going around, seeing all the fans' faces, all of the fans I've seen before at games, and just the fact that they stayed after the game. And thanked us, thanked all the seniors for all the work that we put in, thanked us for staying an extra year, things like that. You know, that's what it's all about right there. Just playing for the community, making sure we send the community out right. And, you know, this is one of those experiences that, you know, is going to stick with me for the rest of my life. I really took my time to soak it in, talked with all the fans. And they told me stories about when I got here, like a freshman, seeing me play 6 years ago, things like that. And that's what really stood out to me. Like, wow, our fans really pay attention to who we are as athletes, but also as people too. They watched us grow throughout these last couple of years. And, you know, it's just really exciting to see how much energy this community has about the Syracuse football team.
Speaking here with Josh Black, a Syracuse Orange defensive line alum and a 2022 NFL draft prospect right now. Josh, you and I spoke all the way back in the beginning when you were getting recruited and coming into Syracuse. Do you remember? I think I was 12 years old. You were 5. I mean, this feels like it was like 100 years ago for the both of us. I mean, can you think back on those moments? And do you remember when we first started talking? Because it feels like it was forever ago.
No, yeah, definitely. I remember every single interview, what my thoughts were on Syracuse, why I ended up committing there, you know, just things like that. I still remember everything about Syracuse. I remember that's how much of an impact the football program has had on me, but also the university as well, and just everything about it. And that's just the long-lasting impact that it has on me.
You know, like you said, you remember your interviews, you remember, you know, Syracuse and the impact Syracuse has had on you. When you look back on all of this, why did you ultimately choose Syracuse? Because if that's something that's never changed, then that's got to be pretty top of mind to you. So just what you could say about that, of the reason why you first chose Syracuse, and if those reasons stay true today.
Yeah, it's where I felt at home the most. I felt like family there. I felt like everything about it was just so genuine. It wasn't the type of coaching staff that just treats you as a player. They treat you as family. They take care of you. It's a family away from your family. You can talk to any of the coaching staff whenever you want to about anything. Just such a personable staff. But also, it's just, as soon as I got to Syracuse to take my visit, it just felt like I was home. It felt like I arrived home. It felt like I left Illinois and I didn't miss a beat right there. I just felt like I was comfortable there. I had no worries about anything. And it's just something that's always been a part of me. I just feel like Syracuse has been the rite of passage for me. I feel like everything happens for a reason also, and I feel like God told me to go to Syracuse, and, you know, I'm so happy with my decision, as you know, as you know, it's impacted me in such a positive way. I just love everything about the city, the community, the university, and just, you know, everything about it.
How did God tell you that Syracuse was the right place?
Well, during the whole recruiting process, there was a lot going on. I was getting recruited primarily by the MAC and the Big Ten. There's really no other ACC schools in the mix, and nearing signing day, I kind of felt this gut feeling, like something was telling me that the University of Illinois is not the place for you to be. And, you know, I kind of dawned on that for a while, and this is how the way things shaped up during the recruiting process when Coach Babers and Coach Sean Lewis at the time they texted me in the middle of the day, like, hey, we're doing home visits right now in the Chicagoland area. Can we give you a home visit tonight? And I feel like just from that on, I was like, okay, like God is pointing me in this direction. I have, you know, such a large faith, such a positive faith in the Lord. So we took that home visit right there, and it's kind of been a done deal since then. I just fell in love with the coaches, the university, everything about it.
And Josh, for you, like you said, you've had such a strong faith throughout your life, and that's something that you and I, definitely can appreciate is the importance of faith, the power of faith, and it taking precedence in someone's life. What can you say about your faith in general and just what God has meant to you and why you're unafraid to talk about it?
Yeah, I'm totally unafraid to talk about it. I'm not ashamed to talk about my beliefs. I'm not ashamed to talk about the faith that I have in our Lord and Savior, in my opinion. And, it's not for everybody, sure, but, that's just something that I grew up with, just a way of handling life, I'm not one to dawn on any decision I've made. And, like I said, everything happens for a reason. God will always make you right in the end. And that's just the way I've been following. That's the way I was raised. And just everything I do it in His name, because one day when we're not on this earth, we're gonna meet our Maker one day. And just everything about following the Lord is something I am really, really faithful in. Follow Him every day, pray, and it's just I feel like He's guiding me throughout my life right now, and I'm really excited to see what happens.
And in having that guidance, speaking here with Josh Black, Syracuse Orange defensive line alum and 2022 NFL draft prospect, where do you feel like God is guiding you now? Like, as you look at the next chapter, the next piece of your journey, do you really see the NFL as something viable, something real, something tangible? How do you view it?
I do believe it's in my reach, but I don't know what God has in store for me. It could work out, it could not work out. Could be a blessing in disguise. Who knows? This could be a whole life lesson for me too. I'm just excited to be in the process and excited to have the opportunity to compete at the next level. Whatever happens. Going to take that with a grain of salt. If anything happens, I turn a negative into a positive and figure out my life after that. So I'm just really excited to see what happens, see what my future has in store for me, because whatever happens, I'm going to make the best out of it no matter what.
And that positivity that stems from your faith, how hard has it been to keep your positivity? And have you ever had a moment or two where you felt like it was shaken the most?
I mean, it definitely has. It's there's a place and time for everything. Yeah, sometimes when we lose some games we should have won, that's where it comes into play. But it's all about taking those negatives and turning them into positive. That's another way I was raised, the way I grew up, and just figuring out ways to correct these negative mistakes and turn them to positive. All right, we lost here. How can we make it better for next time? That's the way I approach everything. Let's say you're in class and let's say hypothetically, you get an underwhelming grade on your exam. All right, how did you study? How did you prepare? Do we need to put in more hours? Do we need to get more in depth? Do we need to try a new study technique? That will help you out in the future. You're going to remember these little things. It's all going to add up. And all these positives that you gain from these negatives is all going to make you a better person, figure out these situations much more faster. And that's the way I kind of take in all these different scenarios and all this other type of information that you could consider negative, but I found a way to turn it positive.
And we look at turning a negative into a positive. How do you look back on this season at 5-7? Your team was within reach against Rutgers, and 4th and 8 on the 42. There was an opportunity there. 4th and 2 against Wake Forest in regulation. 4th and 1 against Clemson at home in regulation. There was obviously opportunities in a Florida State game that they won in the last second there on a field goal. So bring me into this season and how close things were playing your first 3 ACC games at Florida State, home against Wake and home against Clemson, losing each of those by 3, being close in the Rutgers game, and other pieces along the way. Just what you could say about turning a negative into a positive and how close you feel you guys were at maybe being an 8-win team or somewhere around there.
Yeah, so from those games you just described right there, my positive that turns from a negative is we can compete with anybody in the conference, anybody in the country. We just have to play to our ability. We have to start fast. That's what kind of hurt us in the beginning. We didn't start as fast as we wanted to. We didn't make enough plays. Those are all correctable. A lot of that stuff had to do with mental play calling. Not all 11 guys were on the same page at once, and sometimes that's where these explosive plays come from. But just from based off these games and who we are as a football team, we can compete with anybody. Yeah, you can look at the depth chart and all these teams have bigger, faster, stronger guys than us just on paper. They're going to beat us on paper a lot of these times, but that doesn't mean they have to beat us on the football team. The best football team that plays that day is going to win. And just the fact that we're right there with a lot of great football teams, it says a lot about us. But, just finding those little things to correct, and it's going to make us a better team for next year, too.
So, Josh, you say that, and you look at this defensive line that you've been a part of, arguably the best defensive line experience-wise that Syracuse has maybe seen, and talent-wise in maybe over a decade. When you look at McKinley Williams as well as yourself and look at the Kingsley Jonathan, 3 starters that are moving on, what can you say about your brethren on the defensive line, specifically McKinley and Kingsley, knowing what you guys worked to build and knowing that time is now over at Syracuse because your eligibility is finished up, but just what those 2 gentlemen meant to you and what the defensive line was like having both of them with you.
Yeah, they meant the world to me. Those are 2 of my brothers that I've had here basically the entire time. Just the camaraderie, the teamwork, the positivity they also bring to the table. Also how hard they work too. We're always really competitive with one another, whether it be summer conditioning, spring conditioning, just even on the field and practice. They kind of getting after each other, like, hey, I made more plays than you, things like that. But that also breeds that competitive nature that we have, and that's why I feel like we took a giant step forward this year on the defensive line. So it's really exciting to see it for all of us. They'll take this next chapter in our life, and they're going to do great things, and it's going to be really awesome to track all their progress. I'm just really excited to see what the future holds for them too. They're great kids, great personality, both smart, athletic, big. It's just one of those things you get the goosebumps thinking about. You play with them so long, and finally get to see them go on to this next chapter of their life, and they're going to do awesome things.
And as we look at that next chapter, for Syracuse and their next chapter on the defensive line, it's going to be them having to, go lean on some players that are going to be youthful now. And we look at that and look at this defensive line. And your thoughts on, as they step forward, who's left there on this defensive line unit as we look at it here with Steve Linton, who can play there. It can play in multiple places, but you have an opportunity for him, as well as some of the other guys there. JT Gear, who's a young guy on the line. Derek McDonald, who's coming and been there. Terry Lockett, Caleb Okechukwu, as well as Elijah Fuentes Cundiff. Just what you could say about, these pieces of the line, because I know Caleb got some time out there, some ample time, and then we saw some time for Terry, some time for JT and whatnot. What can you say about the future of Syracuse's defensive line?
And I'll tell you what, it is great. It is really, really awesome to see all these young guys compete. And, the crazy thing about it, watching them practice and compete, they're way further ahead than where me, Kingsley, Bear, and a lot of the other guys were being that young. I'm talking these freshmen, they have there's a physical capability right there. And once they get everything in tune, and watch out, like this D-line, like I'm talking about right now, hair stand up, this D-line is going to be good within the next couple of years. They're going to take that step each year. They're mature, they compete. They're all about their business. They're really, like I said, they're really mature for their age. That's what really stands out to me is they love getting that extra work. They don't make excuses. They just go out there and work. And that's something that you would think, a freshman needs to take time to develop and really use that redshirt year to really figure out who they are. But these guys already formed their identity. Everyone figured out what their moves are, how well they move, how strong they really are, and just, it's going to be awesome to see. I'm hyped up for it.
One of the guys that I'd love to get your thoughts on, Cody Roscoe, just what he's done coming up the way that he is, coming into Syracuse and transferring in, having an opportunity, and then this year in just a few games had already eclipsed his sack record for a season that he had. He was consistently strong this year, was very helpful getting to the backfield and getting after the quarterback. Just what you could say about Cody Roscoe and why an NFL team should look at Cody, knowing how well he's come up in the very recent past here and this season. I mean, he was leading the team in sacks. He was doing things this year that were showing that he made a massive jump from last season to this season. What can you say about Cody Roscoe?
Cody, having him in addition to our program has been phenomenal for us. Just the energy he brings, whether it's to the games or the practice, he's always hyped up about something, and he makes plays. He's productive. Yeah, you look at him on the depth chart, so you're like, oh, wow, this guy doesn't look like your stereotypical defensive end, but he plays with great leverage, speed, and technique. That's what sets him apart. He knows what he's good at, and that's what he keeps on doing. He doesn't try to get all fancy. He's going to weed out your technique, and he's going to make himself better than you. And just watching out on film, it's like, wow, he knows what he's doing right there. He's so knowledgeable too. He's been part of the game a long time now. And an NFL team that gives him a chance, they won't regret it. He works his tail off day in and day out. He will make your team better. Like, mark my words. Wherever you put him, any position you want to play, you could be a linebacker, defensive end, anything. He's going to excel at the position because he works his tail off. Great effort, but also knows his technique. And it's going to be really awesome to see what opportunities he gets at this next level.
Kingsley Jonathan, I had the opportunity to ask him his thoughts about you. So I'd love to know your thoughts about Kingsley personally, on the field and off the field. Bring me into your relationship with Kingsley Jonathan.
Yeah, Kingsley's a brainiac. He knows he's the type of player that calls all the plays before they happen. He's always been this smart football player. He understands play concepts. He understands whether they're going to get run, whether they're going to get passed. He pays attention to these small details. He sees the offensive lineman. He can tell when they're leaning back, leaning forward. Are they looking a little bit heavy? Are they going to pull? Things like that. He's really, really, really detailed in those small things. And that's what separates him on the field and off the field. Obviously, we all know he's a great student, and that translates on the field as well. He's one of those guys that, hey, after practice, can you watch my get off right here? If you see anything, I'm like, oh yeah, your foot's cocked a certain way. It's like those small details like that makes him stand out. And obviously it helps. He's crazy athletic for his size too, and just overall he's a great human being, but also a great football player too. That's my brother right there. Day in and day out, always with him.
And you brought up McKinley Williams before. You brought up Bear. Just, what you think Bear brings to the table as well as he's finished up his time at Syracuse.
And Bear brings that physicality and has that mean streak to him. At the point of attack, he's really strong. Gets that punch, and he gets penetration. But also, he's freakishly athletic for his size too. And he just brings that certain edge to him, brings that attitude about him. Yeah, he's a little bit quiet off and on the field, but man, is he loud when he starts laying his hands on guys. All of our D linemen have a certain aspects to them, which makes all of us different, right? And that's the cool thing about football. It's like a melting pot of different cultures, different backgrounds, different personalities, and that's why I think college football is the coolest thing in this world.
That coming from Syracuse Orange defensive line alum Josh Black, who's a 2022 NFL draft prospect, telling you about his brethren, and we'll talk about him momentarily and his thoughts on himself. But before we get to that, Josh, your defensive line coach, he was overseeing the whole defensive line. Then he went specifically to D tackles, then back to overseeing the D line. Your thoughts on Vincent Reynolds as a coach and as your position coach? And secondly, how surprised were you that after overseeing what I think arguably was the best unit on the team, that he was let go after this season?
Yeah, Coach Reynolds and I go way back. I'll do anything for that man. Whether he tells me to run 500 miles any time of day, I'll do whatever it takes. He's done countless amounts of things for me, just helping me out as a player, but also as a man too. It's just, I saw him as a role model for me. Just everything he did was so inspirational. Yeah, obviously I was a little bit surprised, they let him go, but that's the thing with coaching. You don't know what's going to happen at the end of the season. And yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, man, that's my guy right there. Right? Been with him so long, but that's the profession of the game right there. And he's going to find a great job somewhere else. And obviously, I'll wish him the best of luck wherever he goes because he's going to do great things. He's getting better and better every day too. That's the cool thing about having a coach like him. As he gets better and better every day, the D-line gets better and better every day too. And that's the type of motivation he brought to the defensive line room. And I'm excited to see where he ends up next because he's going to do great things too. That's, like I said, that's my guy since day one right there, Coach Reynolds. And I'm really excited to see what happens for him as well.
Josh, how did Vincent Reynolds make you a better player specifically?
Oh, yeah. In the beginning, he was really, really hard on me. As a true freshman coming in, you kind of get just thrown right to the back of the depth chart right there. You have to work your way up. And as camp started to progress, he understood who I was as an athlete. I long arms, long legs, but also strong too. So he figured out ways to help me out on the field. It's how to translate your certain body type and what type of player you're going to be. Are you going to be more of a run-stopper? Are you going to be a pass rusher? Things like that taught me how to use my body more to my advantage, how to use more leverage because I have such a unique body being my size and my frame, and that's a little thing. So he teach me on and really detail me and really coached me up really hard in the beginning to make sure I got the best abs that I could.
So that's, and you becoming the player that you are, Josh, you've been very humble with everything, and you've obviously worked very hard to get to where you are today. Where have you seen yourself, like you said, when you're a freshman, you get thrown to the back of the depth chart, you're on the bottom, you got to work your way up. Who were you when you came to Syracuse, and who are you now as far as the man off the field and then the talent on the field? Because NFL teams are going to be looking at the man that you become and the player that you become. So how would you describe both of those things?
Coming in, I would say I was really hesitant. Didn't really know what to expect. Didn't really have a lot of positivity. Didn't have a voice back then. But now, just where I am now, the way I developed as a man, I take care of my business. I try to make sure everything is perfect. We all know there's no such thing as perfect, but I try my best to make sure everything is perfect. Whether it's schoolwork, whether it's making my bed, things like that. Those are the small details that hopefully translate to the next level as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. But just on the field, I pay really close attention. I take coaching extremely well. It's just the little things like that these little skills and traits that I've developed these last couple of years I've been playing here at Syracuse of what made me just a better athlete and also a better man on and off the field. So, yeah, we'll see what happens for sure.
There's a lot of crazy questions that sometimes get asked during the combine and during the NFL draft process and whatnot. So I'm going to throw a few at you that I'm just going to create in the moment. I haven't written them down, but I'm just going to throw these questions at you, pretend that I'm an NFL GM, and let's see what we could do with this. So the first one is, you're on a ship, and the ship it has a leak in the bottom part of the ship. What do you do to, let's say there's 1,000 people on the ship that are guests. So do you tell the guests? If you do tell them, what do you tell them? And how do you assess the problem of the leak on the bottom of the ship while you're the captain of the ship?
Well, first I have to alert everybody right away. There's a leak. We can't hide any of this information that could harm them also. I'm going to figure out what materials they have to possibly fix the ship. If not, we're going to have some type of backup plan. Hopefully we already have something installed for that. Whether the ship is going down or not, we have to get the safety wraps out, things like that. We're going to have 3 to 4 backup plans right there. Everything might not go as planned, but as long as we alert everybody, make sure they're aware of the situation, try to fix the situation, whether we patch it up, and if we can't, we go to plan C right there. We're always going to have a backup plan and make sure that everybody's as safe as possible.
I love that answer, and that answer, I think, has a lot in it to describe the type of person you are. The next one is, where in the world do you feel, if you could go anywhere to help anybody right now, where would you choose to go? If you could go on missionary work anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
It'll be probably somewhere in Africa. That's where my family roots are from, being on my dad's side of the family. Times are really hard, for them over there in a lot of places. And just overall culture brings and helps give back to the culture that made me who I was. And so I just feel like doing that just around villages and around different neighborhoods too. I feel like that means the world to me, just to give back to all the communities that help pave the way for us over here in America too. So that definitely somewhere.
Single greatest mentor in your life and why?
It'd be my older brother, Ben Black. He's a graduate assistant at Indiana University. He's assistant D-line coach there. And he basically paved the way for me being an athlete, being a football player. My junior year of high school, he kind of sat me down and said, listen, you have the body, you have the mentality, you have the athletic capabilities to do great things. You get college paid for free. And that, since right there, I put my foot down, I started working my tail off, and great things happened. And so for that, I can't thank him anymore. Everything he asked me, I'm going to do it. He's the number one reason why I'm in the spot I am today.
Coming from Josh Black. Josh, final points here on Wake Up Call inside the Cafe Kubal Studios. with your host, Dan Tortora. Before I let you go, taking a look at Dino Babers as a coach, your thoughts on him. You've been with him since the beginning, and just what your take is on him as a coach overall, and what your thoughts are on Syracuse's decision to keep him for a 7th season coming up this year.
Coach Babers is a great coach, outside and outside the field, really knowledgeable, brings a lot of experience to, and he knows how to get things done too. And bringing him back for the 7th year, I feel like this is the year we're starting to figure out everything. The coaching staff, everything's trying to get set in stone right there. Got the recruits we need, and overall, couldn't say enough great things about Coach Babers and how blessed I am that he gave me an opportunity to play here at Syracuse for him, and it just makes the entire world for me. So whatever he does, I'm going to 100% support it, and that's my guy since day one. Also, it's exciting to see what the future holds for him, and he's gonna rally the troops for next year, and he's gonna get the job done for sure.
Defensive coordinator Tony White, just what he's meant to you. You've seen a changing of the guard on the defensive side, the 3-3-5 instituted a couple seasons ago by Tony. What has Coach White done for this team, in your opinion, and what does he mean to you?
Coach White is one of those coaches that came in from day one when we hired him and just made an impact right there. Just his positivity, what he carries himself, the attitude, but also the work he does on and off the field too. And just the fact of all the trust he has in his defensive players. He gives us the flexibility to edit some play calls here and there. He asks us, what do we see out there? Because he knows I'm playing the game. Not everything is the same watching on film and in the game itself. If we're getting gashed up by a certain run, he's going to ask us, all right, what's our opinion on this? How should we make this better? He really gets the players' input and then modifies some of the play calls based on that. And that's why I feel like makes him such a great coach. He trusts his players, and we trust him just as much too.
And Josh, back in 2017, you talk about your faith in God and the importance of that and all. That season you played in 4 games and went down due to an injury. Now looking back on it, having gotten to play this past season of 2021, was it a blessing in disguise because the injury back then in your 2nd season at Syracuse allowed you to spend some extra time in Syracuse? So how do you look at that?
Yeah, I wouldn't even call it a blessing in disguise. That was an overall blessing right there. That season right there gave me the opportunity to take that redshirt year, get faster, stronger, get more smart about the game of football, but also give me the opportunity to have that extra COVID year. And from there, I got an extra year from that too. And that was just an overall blessing. I got to finish my master's degree. I got to spend more time with the team, develop myself as a person, develop myself as a player too, and just overall gave me another year to stay in Syracuse. So it was one of those blessings that happened, and definitely can't take for granted. Yeah, I got injured, so what? But that ultimately, set me up for things much greater. And I can't thank it enough for what happened there. Not that I shut it out like that, but yeah, I'm glad that happened, and I feel like that's God telling me that things are going to improve, things are going to get better, things of that nature too. So those are one of those situations that you got to be thankful for. You can't look back on it and say, oh man, I missed a season. No, that season right there gave me 2 extra seasons if you think about it that way. So it's just awesome.
Yeah, and in the following season, 2018, you guys went to the only bowl game under Dino Babers. You had a 10-3 season, did a bunch of things the team hadn't done in a decade, if not 2 decades. Bring me into that time, that season, and the sweetness for you having to sit out the most of the 2017 season, come back in 2018, go 10-3, go to a bowl game, win the bowl game against an old rival in West Virginia. And that season is the first time that Syracuse had ever had a field goal blocked in the last 5 years before that. It happened back in 2013. You were able to block a field goal there and do something special for yourself. So you come back, you block the first field goal Syracuse has blocked in 5 years. You guys go 10-3. You win the bowl game. You get to come down to Orlando, Florida. You get an extra bunch of weeks of practice and whatnot in. Just what you could say about all of that and how sweet that was coming off of an injury.
Yeah, I guess you can consider that almost like a redemption tour for 2018. And it was just a testament to how much work we really put in the offseason as a team and just the overall the accountability we had. That's what made us so much different in 2018. We didn't let anything slide. Someone was slacking off, everybody got on them, and that's the type of culture we had in 2018 that really set us apart. And we just got the ball rolling, we had the momentum, and we never had that taken away from us. So those are one of those seasons that's going to stick with me for the rest of our lives. And I'm sure a lot of the older guys are already graduated, and some of the guys are still on the team too that understand the importance of that season and how impactful it was for not only the future generations, but also just the culture of the entire football team and what Syracuse football really means.
Yeah, and for you, Josh, you believing in this team as the team steps forward. They don't have your leadership and the leadership of Aaron Service and Bear and Kingsley Jonathan. There's a bunch of guys that are moving on. But also in the transfer portal, almost 20 players moving on. Syracuse leading the ACC, including schools that had a bunch of coaching changes, Virginia Tech, Duke, and Miami. How do you view that? I mean, these are your brothers, and some of them left during the season, some of them left at the end of the season, some of them left right around National Signing Day. How do you view the fact that Syracuse is losing almost 20 players, and a bunch of these guys had seen playing time, and guys like Jeff Canton-Ark, who were right behind you, playing there at the linebacker position. Curtis Harper was there with you on the defensive line. When you see a team have around 20 players heading to the transfer portal, what does that do for the future of Syracuse football, and how do you kind of view something like that, knowing that these are guys that had lockers that were right by you?
Yeah, those are just one of those things. They're grown men, and they're going to make grown man decisions. And that's the game nowadays, is figure out where you really want to end up. And you see the transfer portal getting larger and larger. So that's just the way college football is heading right now. But no ill will against them. They have to do. They feel like it's best in their decision. So I'm obviously not going to put them down or anything. Like I said, they're grown men. They're going to make grown men decisions. And obviously, I wish them the best luck in whatever they do, and I'm going to support them 100%. As a man, we got to do what we have to do to get things done. And if they feel like they have to transfer to make that happen, they can do that. And, as long as they don't regret any of the decisions, as long as they find positives from negatives, they're going to turn out just the way they want it to. And I'm going to support them. I'm going to give them backup whenever they need it. They can call me, text me, they can page me, any of that good stuff. I'm going to make sure that they try to give themselves the best possibility they can to make the things they want to happen.
And you talk about doing the best that you can moving forward. You have the 2022 NFL Draft coming up here. Speaking with Josh Black, Syracuse Orange defensive line alum, and heading toward the NFL Draft here on the defensive line. You played in the interior, you played the exterior of the line as well. You played in different sets when it comes to the defense, and so you've had a lot of experience at college. What do you bring to an NFL team, and why should they bring you in?
Yeah, so first off, I bring a lot of experience. I've been in many different defensive systems. I've played all over the defensive line. Nose tackle, 3 tech, 0 tech, 5 tech, 6, 4-eye, wide eye. Everything I've played. I bring great technique. I also bring a lot of positivity to the team as well. Just any team that gives me an opportunity is not going to regret it not one bit. So it's going to be exciting to see what happens in the future. And whoever gives me an opportunity, I got to make the best of it 120%. There's only a small chance that I ever play another football game ever again. So I have to come in, be ready to work. Whatever happens, happens. But it's just trying to figure out ways to make myself better and find out these positives.
That coming from Josh Black. Josh, you've been awesome in answering my questions throughout the years, and hopefully many coming forward. I'm going to allow Rapid Fire to be all about you asking me. So I'm going to sit on the hot seat in your honor. And so any 3 questions that you have could be about anything in the world. I have to answer it. But like I said, you've been so great in answering my questions over the years. And so now I'm going to put myself on the hot seat. You can ask me 3 questions. What do you got?
All right, number 1. If you could only survive off of one food for the rest of your life, what would it be and why?
Oh, man, it'd probably have to be something that I know would give me some nutrients and that I could eat a lot of and not get sick of. So I'm going to choose shrimp. I think I would have shrimp.
Okay. No, that's a respectful answer. I think you can do a lot with that.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Number 2. What is your favorite hobby, and how did that come across? Like, what type of hobby is your favorite? What do you do when you're offline? What do you do when you're not talking to anybody? What's your number 1 go-to hobby?
I would have to say I got a bunch of them, but I would have to tell you it's music. I would have to tell you it would be singing. I've been singing since I was 3 years old, so I would probably tell you writing songs and practicing my craft at singing as well.
Oh, wow. Okay. And number 3, if you could choose one superpower out of super strength or super speed, what would it be?
Oh man, super strength is a great thing, but my favorite DC character is the Flash, so I'd probably have to go with super speed. It would allow me the opportunity to get to a lot of places quickly, and if I could run as fast as the Flash, I could run over water, which means I could go see my family in Italy and Spain. I could, if I had a mixture of speed and strength, then I could pick you up, Josh, and I could run with you across the Atlantic Ocean and bring you over to Africa. Like you said, you respect where your family came from, so we could take a little trip out of that. So maybe if you got the super strength, I got the speed. If we work together, maybe we could get across the ocean pretty quick and get to do what we want to do.
I like to answer the dynamic duo right there.
That's right, man. Yeah, I got to give you some credit, too, because The Rock showed you some love about your ability to be a big man and jump in and flip off of a wall. That is one of the most awesome videos I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's 2 things. How have you utilized that to pay off dividends, The Rock seeing that video? And then secondly, if and when you get to meet The Rock and talk to The Rock, can you make sure that I'm in that movie with you guys?
Yeah, I mean, just, based off the little video I posted, just, that I exist, guys like that, and celebrities like that, they're all about their business, but the fact that he's able to reach out to me, study who I am, just went on the Syracuse roster, looked at me, how much I squat and things like that, just meant the world to me. And definitely, you can be on set for a movie. I don't know what it's going to be. He's always appearing in 6 movies every couple months, but we'll figure out a spot for you.
Sounds good. Well, that coming from Josh Black. Josh, as always, I can hear you, lifting and getting your stuff in the background. Love to have you back on the show as we, get close to different things coming up, including, your opportunity for Pro Day and the NFL Draft and whatnot. But you've always been great to me, and it was fitting the last day of the season this season that not only did I get to talk with you in the press conference, but when I walked out of the dome, I walked out with you and gave you a hug. So thank you for all the moments, and they're only just beginning, I hope, for you. And I would love to have you back on the show, but I want you to know that it will always mean something to me that I got to walk out of the dome with you on that final day.
Yes, sir. I appreciate everything you've done for me. I really do, from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate all your support, just the fact that you always reach out, make sure I'm okay, and just everything you do just for the community as well. I appreciate you.
Always, man. So take care of yourself and have a good time. The next time you got a video about jumping off of something or lifting or throwing something, let me know. But, maybe we could do that. Maybe you can pick me up and throw me and see how far I can go, like through the goalposts. We'll have a little padded thing down in the end. Then The Rock and Kevin Hart can appreciate it. So.
Yeah, I used to do some shot put back in the day, so we can make it work.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do. But as always, Josh, much love. I appreciate you. Shout out to your mom, Cindy, who's always been good to me as well. And God bless as always. I can't wait to talk to you again.
Yes, sir. Much love. I'll catch you soon.
All right, take care.
Yes, sir.
See you. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout central and upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m. p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. I want to thank my fantastic guests of the day, Papa Joe and Josh Black. My conversations with NFL draft hopefuls Josh Black, Aaron Service, and Kingsley Jonathan all being made available to you, so you can check those out. Of course, you're tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, and on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. You can also listen live on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT and on WakeUpCallDT.com. Once the shows go live, you'll find them in our archives. Plenty there for you. Over 1,500 episodes on Podbean alone. Podbean, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, and more. All you have to do is find us on any one of these avenues by searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Proud thanks to all of our Central and Upstate New York partners, Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Progressive Dental, Avicoli's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Pizza Man, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, the Millhouse Market, Lemoyne Dolphins, Honda City of Liverpool, PB&J's Lunchbox, Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, and Mother's Cupboard. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is also your proud multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. The Lemoyne Dolphins here with us in Dolphin Time every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. You can set the dial and keep it there weekly on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time for our specials with Lemoyne College. Proud to be with Lemoyne here with us every first and third Wednesday with AD and DT, with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora, bringing you a special topic every episode. And every second and fourth Wednesday at 9 a.m., you will have right here on the broadcast Dolphin Dive with student athletes, coaches, and staff members from Lemoyne College giving their stories on why they chose Lemoyne and their connection to the Dolphins. So every Wednesday, 9 a.m., first and third AD and DT episodes, second and fourth Dolphin Dive new episodes airing right here, as well as things all throughout the month with Lemoyne College. You can check out more by going to our Lemoyne tab on wakeupcalldt.com. Find all the videos in our archive on YouTube by subscribing to our channel on YouTube, which is one word, Wake Up Call DT for Dan Tortora. And of course, for more information, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is also the proud multimedia marketing partner of your Marywood University Pacers. Marywood University with us weekly on Fridays to round out the show around 10:45 a.m. Eastern Time. We feature our exclusive content Pacer Pride broadcast with the Marywood University Pacers, my alma mater in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Marywood University here with us weekly on Fridays, where you can set the dial and have that there for you. You can also check out all of our Marywood information by going to the Marywood tab on wakeupcalldt.com and subscribing to our YouTube channel to get all of our shows with Marywood, which is Wake Up Call DT, all one word on YouTube. Wake Up Call DT is the name of the YouTube channel. So find out more information with our exclusive content with Executive Director of Athletics Pat Murphy, as well as student athletes and coaches, all tied into the Pacers side of things. Pacer Pride, Pacers Never Stop. Very happy to be connected with the Marywood University Pacers, and you can check them out, like I said, on Fridays on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and throughout the month with specials going on as well. With that being said, I hope you all have a fantastic day from inside of the Cafe Kubal. Which way? The Cafe Kubal Studios. Make sure you got to Cafe Kubal today, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, as well as 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse. You'll find them inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital as well in downtown Syracuse, and on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, and on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse. And of course, Cafe Kubal now being sold at PB&J's Lunchbox on 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Minutes from Destiny USA, Onondaga Lake Parkway, the highway and the thruway, centrally located for you with fantastic flavors all their own. PB&J's Lunchbox. With that being said, have a fantastic day. Find us on the social medias, Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, the Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT, WakeUpCallDT.com 24/7, and one more time for YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. In the meantime, God bless, no stress, do your best. I'll talk with you soon, and I hope you have a